Don't you love it when it takes you nearly 4 months to finish a short review because other things take priority? I am so sorry, everyone. Getting back into the swing of reviewing seems to be harder than I thought. But don't worry, I do got a thing for you today. So here's a hot take for you all. I still think The Simpsons is an okay show. It's not the best. In fact, I don't know where it would stand in a top 10 favorite ongoing shows, but I don't know. It still has genuinely good episodes and has retained a good bit of its charm longer than most other shows that have gone on longer than 5 seasons have. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's still pretty okay. Like, not amazing, but okay. And today I'm going to talk about an episode I actually thought was overall okay despite a couple of issues. Just to kind of explain stuff that I do and don't like about The Simpsons in 2018. I'm also going to be completely honest here and say that one of the main reasons I chose this episode in particular is because there is a bit of a rant later that I wish to go on. But overall, I do think this episode is a good representation of why I think the show is still pretty okay. So here is No Good Read Goes Unpunished. So the episode starts with the Tom and Jerry parody The Simpsons has had since forever, marathoning every episode ever. Marge comes in the room and demands that they turn it off and put away their phones because it'll rot their brains. Here we learn that Bart likes Minecraft, except it's not called Minecraft, it's called Tunnelcraft, but tell me that's not what they're parodying. This is probably my biggest nitpick with the episode. Personally, I think South Park and Rick and Morty referenced Minecraft better. As with The Simpsons, they don't really do anything with it. Like, somehow it's both a pivotal part of the episode, and they do so little with it that it may not even exist. But we'll come back to this point later. Marge takes everyone to a bookstore where she finds a book from her childhood that she wants to share with Lisa. And Bart finds a book about war strategies after Homer gets onto his case about buying Tunnelcraft Con tickets. This is where the episode splits into your Plot A and Plot B. But during this build-up, I'd like to mention something about this episode. The humor in this episode is actually pretty clever. Some of it is, at least. I can't really say Abe's song is clever, but it's kind of morbid in a sense to see such a happy old man talk about a man in poverty who gets kicked while he's down that I couldn't really help but laugh. But say the joke about Amazon in a bookstore, or the joke after the bookstore where they set up this wholesome family get-together only to have Homer go to Moe's. I thought these were genuinely funny. I won't say every joke hits as hard as them, but when those jokes come up, they're great. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it is a common criticism of modern Simpsons. It's not as funny as it used to be. And I can say with certainty, after watching every episode over the course of 3 months, no, it's as funny as it used to be. The same plague of jokes that aren't as funny situated themselves back then too. Marge sits down with Lisa to read her childhood favorite book, but as she does, she realizes just how racist it can be. And I love the direction they took with this, actually. It's very over the top, but played in a way that isn't seen as just played for comedy and not much else. You can tell they're actually trying to make a point in the story here to set up for a moral later. I like that. It's not particularly funny, but I don't think it's supposed to be. Marge then has a dream that gives her the idea to make edits to the book to make it more PC for a child. It's short, to the point, and makes a joke that I chuckled at. Not much more here to say, so we're just gonna cut to Bart Simpson's declaration of war against Homer. This is probably my favorite part of the episode, as watching Bart manipulate Homer's world to get what he wants is just an enjoyable little romp that wouldn't be out of place in an older Simpsons episode. You know, the ones held in high regard. From a story aspect, it's nice to see Bart learning, even if it is for evil, which isn't all that out of place for a character as mischievous as Bart is. It takes a character out of typical cliches they're known for and does something new and interesting with the premise. On top of that, I just think this moment is funny. Like, not everything needs an in-depth reason for me to like it. I just think they did alright with this. Now we get to that scene. The scene that caused such a fucking pointless uproar due to someone's stupid offense over a character that has grown into a very multi-dimensional character, but still gets treated as a stereotype only because people can't get their fucking heads out of there. Okay, calm down. Getting overly steamed. So, for context, this dude called Harry made a 45-minute documentary called The Problem with Apu. And to put it lightly, I don't like it. Essentially, the documentary was filled with cherry-pick examples of how Apu was nothing more than a stereotype, when he has such more character to him, and ignored the examples of every other character also being stereotypes, because there's not many Indian American representatives in media. And it was quite clear that the focus of the documentary was pushing a narrative more than informing anyone on anything interesting. Like, to put this into perspective, They actually lazily tacked on a better message to the end of the documentary, telling kids of Indian American descent that they can do anything. Which is a good message, but it was not the sole focus of Harry's work. The writers of The Simpsons caught wind of this and decided to respond. So Marge comes into the room explaining how it takes a lot of work to take out the spirit and character of an old work to make it PC, and begins reading the newly edited book to Lisa. Lisa catches on to this and brings up how there's no emotional growth to a character that starts perfect. And Marge asks, "What can you do?" Lisa answers,
"It's hard to say. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. What can you do?"
Some things will be dealt with at a later date.
If at all.
And this caused everyone to flip their shit. People were so angry that this was a non-answer and that it was Lisa who delivered the line because she was always so progressive, without realizing that A, the answer in full wasn't strictly what Lisa said. The full answer was the build-up in full from the time Lisa explains how there's no struggle when the protagonist is perfect, which Apu had shown time and time again to have, being the first-generation Indian American with a very traditional family, to how Marge implies how taking out the spirit and character from a story to make it politically correct for the modern era isn't worth it. Which, yeah, given how Apu was an established character for nearly 30 years, makes a lot of sense that it wouldn't be worth making him more American. Fuck, wasn't that the entire plot to another Simpsons episode, where they were planning to deport all non-American citizens, and Apu was the most affected by it? Then there's B. Lisa hasn't just been a progressive. She's been the voice of reason. What the common ideology is, Lisa is that voice that looks at things from a different regard, tries to look at things from a different perspective, and when everyone is taking a dishonest and frankly biased documentary at face value and lobbying all of its complaints at the Simpsons creators, Lisa would have to be the voice of reason against that, despite it not being a progressive view. This is not out of character for Lisa. The outrage surrounding the scene in particular was overblown so far out of proportions and caused so many people to be against this episode on that basis alone. And it's quite frankly insulting to hear how many people who didn't even watch the show to begin with claim to stop being fans after it. I for one think the answer The Simpsons gave was actually pretty okay. What can you do in the face of a pre-established character who is well beloved and has been the way they are since the very beginning, nearly 30 years ago? Exactly, Jack Bupkiss. In fact, to bring up an example where they did change a character so drastically, Principal and the Pauper. This is an episode everyone deems as the death of The Simpsons because it took the character of Principal Skinner and threw it so far left field that not only did the creators of The Simpsons themselves effectively disown the episode, but fans hated it largely too, as learning that Skinner isn't Skinner alienated them. But now we turn towards Apu, and now it's okay to change a massive thing about a character. I can't be the only one seeing a double standard there entirely built on race, and these same people called Apu racist. This was the most mature approach they could take. Stop the bitching that you were doing 4 months ago. Anyway, back on track. We now head to Minecon, or Tunnelcraft Con, and this is easily where The Simpsons shows itself to be that out-of-touch father, if nowhere else. The only joke they actually had against Minecraft were the Let's Players, and even that was dated long before the episode came out. They don't do anything particularly interesting that actually parodies Minecraft, and it just comes across as not understanding your source. Like, what does Daniel Radcliffe have anything to do with Minecraft? Rarely does Minecraft show trailers to nothing. Their whole premise for the set piece is just to do it, and it makes the setup not really pay off at the end of the day. As I said, they do nothing with it. However, during this time, Milhouse rats out Bart to Homer, and Homer tries out the art of deception against Bart by befriending long rival Ned Flanders. And yeah, it's fun to see Bart get his comeuppance, but end off well enough, punished that it didn't drag out too much. Yeah, Homer becoming the next Ned Flanders would have probably been better off as its own episode, but I ain't complaining too much because it fits well with the rest of Bart's arc during the charade. Overall, this episode, and the series as a whole, recently gets probably more hate than it deserves. Like, it's far from perfect, I understand. Some episodes are not as timeless as those from decades ago. And sure, there are more bad episodes past Season 8 of a 29-season-long show, because that's fair, I guess. But it's still got its good moments, can still make me laugh, and can be genuine with its emotions. Of course, just nobody really cares. Hopefully I can get the next review done before 4 months, because god, this channel quickly fell back into its rut. See you next time, whenever that is.